the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 5:30. Streaming now.
Now at 5:30, putting fun back into the voting process, how a local nonpartisan group is trying to make everything easier this election season. Plus, another side effect of the pandemic, shortages of all kinds. What you need to know about this technology shortage.
Topping our lineup, the pandemic's brought a lot of changes to the workforce. What that means for pay moving into the new year. And social media companies are working to battle misinformation, but just how responsible are they when it comes to these inaccuracies? We're looking at the push to make sure that you're getting the correct information. And from higher prices to less sales, grocery shopping has changed, but how long can we expect things to look different? What the future at the supermarket could be like.
The election is in 43 days, and it's expected to be a record year for voter turnout. Our Kelsey Anderson explores how a nonpartisan organization is trying to make registering to vote easier.
Just 4 months ago, 3 strangers got together and created the organization Go Vote Indy. And their hope is to help other people understand the process of voting and helping them get over those hurdles that come with voting. So in honor of National Voter Registration Day, they are going to host a block party of sorts here at the Hi-Fi Annex. And that is going to be an event that's outdoors, so social distancing will be possible and masks are required. Go Vote Indy, along with other grassroots organizations, will be there to help voters register, urge people to volunteer at the polls, and to drive other voters to the polls. Once registration closes October 5th, the focus turns to educating voters and making sure barriers that were in place for the primary election in Marion County don't keep people from casting their vote in the general elections.
Everybody's working and voting together. That has a lot of power, and that has a lot of power to make huge change happen. And so when you say, or when you hear, your voice matters, your vote matters, it's absolutely 100% true.
To vote in November, you must be registered by October 5th. And if you wish to vote absentee, you need to have that absentee ballot request in by October 22nd. So for more information on voting, head over to WRTV.com. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
North, south, west, east, whatever direction you look, this is familiar sight. Lots of blue sky today. I think we'll see a few more just kind of hazy conditions across central Indiana during the day tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed the weekend. Boy, with the humidity so low and the sky clear, that's allowed temperatures to really stretch out from morning low, which has been cool, to mild afternoons. It was down to 40 in Kokomo this morning, same in Muncie, 37 in Columbus for the morning low. We've got another morning in the 40s. That's on the way. But how have we recovered since then? Temperatures across the state jump back into the 70s, and it's comfortable, about average, 76 in Indy, 78 in Terre Haute. As you look at the rainfall, we're hurting here. We've had 0.04 of an inch, and you go back 34 days. There's no rain in the forecast for tomorrow. The first hours of fall keep us in the 40s in the morning. The afternoon high tomorrow with a mixture of clouds and sunshine at 76. We'll focus on what changes in the middle of the week toward the end of the week. We'll do that in just a few minutes.
President Trump says he plans to announce his nominee for the Supreme Court either Friday or Saturday. That'd be after funeral services for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The president says that he's narrowed his list to 4 or 5 candidates, but he is picking a woman. He says his preference is for someone who's younger to sway the court for decades. New murals honor Justice Ginsburg on the streets of the nation's capital. 2 artists collaborated to add her image to the recently renamed Black Lives Matter Plaza. They say it speaks to the love, unity, and so much more that Ginsburg represented. Just a few blocks away, another mural of Ginsburg that was completed about a year ago has some new additions. People are now leaving sticky notes with messages of hope. Now, as part of back to school, security experts want parents to add one more thing to their yearly paperwork checklist, safeguarding their child's identity. Today is Child Identity Theft Awareness Day.
This is a huge problem that frankly, no one is aware of. We're not paying attention to it because it feels like an adult crime and it couldn't possibly happen to a child, but it does.
Recent studies show more than 1 million children are impacted each year with losses over $2.6 billion. This year, new government programs for COVID relief have created new vulnerabilities. Parents were denied a stimulus check. Their 2-year-old child's social security number was being used in multiple places, so they couldn't claim the toddler as a dependent. Now, children are prime targets because thieves can use their credentials to build credit history over time, then take out loans, open credit cards, and max them out. It can take months or even years for parents to realize their kids now have bad credit.
So the detection methods that adults use just by engaging in the outside world, those aren't there for children. And the thieves realize that, and they know it can go undetected for long periods of time.
The center says it is never too early to start monitoring your child's identity. Teach them cyber safety as they get older and watch for red flags. If you get something in the mail for your kid that looks like it should be for adults, well, don't write it off as a mistake. The biggest recommendation is to freeze your child's credit. It won't solve everything, but it will significantly lower the risks. Well, we do have more to get to in our lineup. Some positive news about what paychecks could look like next year. Ahead, the trend a majority of companies are taking in terms of paying new employees and the other benefits that they're willing to talk about. Natural disasters are making matters worse for the census. Wildfires and hurricanes have forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate their homes before getting counted. The pandemic has already impacted field work, and if undercounted, states could be shortchanged on federal funding. The census is scheduled to end on the 30th, but 2 lawsuits have been filed to try and get more time. Well, it's hard to know what salaries will look like next year. Staffing firm Robert Half surveyed senior managers and found 72% of companies are offering the same salary they're now paying or slightly more for new hires. More than a third are more likely to negotiate compensation with candidates now versus a year ago.
So that's telling me that these positions that have been hard to fill, there's so many IT, information technology, security positions available. They're looking for data analysts, data scientists.
Workers can also broaden their search outside their geographic area. More companies are willing to hire full-time remote.
It's one thing to talk about broadly what the compensation desires are for you and your family, or for you. The other side is that don't go too far in that first conversation. The negotiation happens after you have an offer.
The company won't budge on pay that they're offering or other benefits like help paying for home internet, more paid time off, and opportunities to upskill. Robert Half says that roles in IT security with the least amount of experience make just under $100,000 a year on average. The salary range can be adjusted by geography, along with advanced degrees and certifications. Now, there are salaries for some 470 positions listed on roberthalf.com. Well, next in our lineup, social media companies are working to battle misinformation. But just how responsible are they when it comes to these inaccuracies? We're looking at the push to make sure that you are getting the correct information. When we get a vaccine, who will be able to get it first? Our partners at Newsy and reporter Kat Sandoval spoke with Phyllis Arthur, a woman who's part of the bio organization made up of thousands of physicians and academic researchers. She's helped launch vaccines in the U.S. and all over the world.
The decision on who will get the vaccine first is actually right now under very critical discussion within the CDC and its Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or known as the ACIP.
The ACIP, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, is currently exploring 4 proposed groups for early phase vaccination. Healthcare personnel, which includes people not directly involved in patient care, but are exposed, like office managers and cleaners, essential workers, those with high-risk medical conditions, and adults over 65. The ACIP will finalize their decision based on the vaccine study.
Because COVID-19 has disproportionately impacted Black, Latinx, and Native American communities, do you think race should also play a role in a deciding factor of who gets the vaccine?
What is happening is you see a disproportionate share of racial and ethnic minorities and others in those occupations. You see a disproportionate share of racial and ethnic minorities in those underlying conditions.
Arthur doesn't think we should solely focus on race and ethnicity for vaccine distribution. By targeting essential workers and people with high-risk medical conditions, these communities will indirectly benefit. Another issue, getting the public to trust that vaccine.
I think everybody is having more mistrust of the vaccine process here. There's been a lot of talk about rushing things.
But Dr. Landon wants to put the public at ease.
So far, we have not seen anything cutting corners on the vaccine trials.
She says pharmaceutical companies have gotten rid of the red tape and bureaucracy in the name of efficiency. But the way clinical trials are being done are still the same. Also, promising vaccines require 2 injections, and that could be a challenge in vaccine distribution.
So I'm going to say the biggest mistake we can make with vaccine distribution is distributing the vaccine in such a way that people can't get the second dose of whatever it is that they got the first time.
In Chicago, I'm Kat Sandoval reporting.
Kat, thank you. And scientists are warning that COVID cases in the UK could rise. They estimate Britain could face 50,000 coronavirus cases each day by mid-October. Currently, cases there have been doubling every day. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is scheduled to make an announcement tomorrow, likely involving a new round of restrictions. Meanwhile, New Zealand is lifting some of its coronavirus restrictions after reporting 0 new cases on Sunday. Most of the country will drop social distancing measures. Auckland will still keep them in place. The city had a cluster of infections last month. New Zealand's prime minister thinks the virus could be eliminated in the country by the end of the month.
The latest item in short supply this pandemic year, laptop computers. If your child needs one for school or you just need one for work and home, consumer reporter John Matarese has an important warning so you don't waste your money.
Millions of American children need laptops for online learning this fall, and that has left store shelves thin. So you may need to shop online. But if so, buyer beware. With parents snapping up every laptop in sight, this is what you may find in electronic stores right now. But Jorge Rosado says ordering from a website left him just as empty-handed.
I sent them a couple of emails already. Nobody get back to me.
Nothing. Jorge says he only had a few $100s to spend on a new laptop, and with decent, affordable laptops in short supply right now in major stores, he said his only real option was searching online. He found a site called The Laptop Store out of San Francisco. Jorge says the laptop store took his credit card and gave him a tracking number.
They signed my name, they leave the package, but there was no package over there.
So he Googled the seller and found their address was a Staples store that was not connected in any way.
The address is from Staples.
The Better Business Bureau gives the laptop store an F rating after similar complaints. Closer inspection of their website reveals a different address at this marketplace in Kollam, India. We emailed the store but have yet to receive any response. Need a laptop? Stick with known retailers. Check reviews of any web seller and beware cheap used laptops on Craigslist or Facebook. What do you think of them doing this to people like you?
And I don't think it's right. I work for my money.
Luckily, Jorge paid by credit card and has filed a dispute, so hopefully he'll get his money back. As always, don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese, WRTV.
And thank you, John. As you look out in Putnam County, it's much the same in all 92 Indiana counties. A beautiful Monday. Nice way to end the last full day of summer. Can you believe that? As we tiptoe into the new season tomorrow, you see a slow but noticeable warming trend. It never gets too warm, but we'll touch 80 degrees here by the time we get to the weekend. There's your average high at 76. Humidity's been virtually non-existent, and we continue in the comfortable zone until we get to Friday and Saturday. Then a little more moisture around, and of course, if you want rain, you've got to have humidity. That's a building block, so that gives us a little better chance for rain as we get to Saturday and on Sunday. 49 tonight. No need to worry about any rain. 49 degrees with a clear sky. The wind not too strong during the day tomorrow, generally 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll see hazy skies through the day. Temperature just about average, 77 in Indianapolis. Some spots may nudge 80 degrees for an afternoon high. So we go through the day. Basically, these are high thin clouds, the gray areas that you see mixed with some smoke in the higher levels. Temperatures will on Wednesday warm to 78 with partly to mostly cloudy skies, but it's another dry day Wednesday. As you look at temperatures from north to south, right in the middle of the week, 79 in Logansport, 80 in Veedersburg. Central Indiana temperatures in the upper 70s, and then as you go to the south, temperature almost 80 degrees for Bedford and Seymour. We'll talk about our rain chances, although minimal, within the forecast. Unveil the next few days for you, all coming up.
Walmart is announcing new green goals. Within the next 20 years, the retailer aims to reach zero emissions from its global operations and power all of its facilities with wind and solar energy. Walmart also plans to restore or protect at least 50 million acres of land and 1 million square miles of ocean by 2030. General Electric says it will no longer produce coal-fired power plants. Instead, GE says it will focus on core renewable energy and will work to make electricity more affordable and sustainable. The company will still continue to service its existing coal power plants. Tomorrow is National Voter Registration Day. Foot Locker is helping voters this election year. You can register to vote when you go into the store. Foot Locker teaming up with the group Rock the Vote. Facebook says it has helped register 2.5 million people to vote. You can register to vote on Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. Social network hopes to register 4 million people by Election Day. Well, how we stay informed and where we get our information continues to evolve. In a pandemic, experts worry the room for confusion and misinformation continues to grow.
Lie spreads faster than the truth.
Information can be hard to trust these days.
Don't take it at face value.
Eric Feinberg works to understand the online world's impact on our real one with the group Coalition for a Safer Web.
Social media is about not listening to what other people are saying, but how can I attack that person on what they said?
Sites like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube have ramped up efforts to remove fake news. Some think they should be held legally responsible, but a law that's been called the most important for the internet prevents that.
So there's a 1996 law from the last century that says no matter what's posted on your platforms, you're not responsible. That was before social media.
The law is in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act and gives sites like Facebook and Twitter the right to moderate what people post. It also protects them from being held legally responsible for what's posted on their platforms, even if it is a conspiracy theory or misinformation.
The argument was that AOL, Netscape, they were the bulletin board. People had to bring their own tack and pen. Now, the social media companies, because of the algorithmic amplification and other things they do, they're not the bulletin board. They're the bulletin board, the paper, pack, and the pen they're giving you.
Both presidential candidates want Section 230 removed, but for different reasons. President Trump feels it gives social media companies the ability to unfairly censor conservative voices. Vice President Biden told the New York Times social media companies should not be exempt from being sued for misinformation posted on their platforms.
The most common, of course, is that this whole thing is a hoax.
Dr. Ryan Stanton has seen the real-world impact misinformation is having from his Kentucky hospital.
I've had several people that have had to be admitted to the hospital, ICU, intubated, those types of things, who up until right before coming into the hospital still felt like that this virus wasn't a big deal.
Doctors say when it comes to COVID-19, go beyond the post to the source.
I think that the things that we would look for are things that are peer-reviewed. Peer-reviewed publications tend to be ones that can be trusted. In addition, local health departments.
Check out who you're dealing with. Check the name, look at the profile. You can see that they've got very little social media activity where they're from, and basically these were created for nothing more than to be distributed through news feeds.
Feinberg's biggest advice is don't let yourself get lost.
Yeah, put the phone down and enjoy life. Get off your phone and look around you, and don't believe everything you see on social media.
All right, finally in our lineup, from higher prices to less sales, grocery shopping has changed. But how long can we expect things to look different? What the future at the supermarket could be like? Grocery prices are still much higher than this time last year. We're paying more than 4% more. USDA says prices are still expected to increase between 2.5% and 3.5% this year. The VP of Operations for one pasta brand says the price increase is related to promotions being canceled. He says manufacturers haven't had to offer them because of how sales have been. The pandemic has changed shopping habits as well.
Many people keep lists, but not everyone. Some people really like those impulse purchases. They like seeing kind of what the new things are. So I think in the future, we're going to see a greater emphasis on figuring out how to sort of translate that for e-commerce and translating that even for the efficient grocery shopping. So maybe some of it is done in marketing. Maybe some of it happens outside the store.
Now, that food analyst says that her company's research shows even when the pandemic's over, people say they plan to do more home cooking. She says don't expect all the changes we've seen with store design to go away either.
I definitely think in store design going forward, we're going to see a lot more emphasis on safety and wider aisles and maybe putting in some of those technologies right at the start that can make these things more efficient and a way to pivot and be flexible when this or another type of issue comes up.
Well, another trend she expects to continue is people having an interest in supporting local with how they're getting their groceries. Well, the challenges of remote learning are posing problems for many grade school students, but those in college are facing their own dilemmas, including a lack of access to necessary resources. Tomorrow, what's being done as millions are facing an issue getting a laptop?
Well, you can see the slope of temperatures from the low 70s, which is already comfortable, into the 50s by midnight and 40s by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Another night to have the windows open for a while, then you probably close those. Tomorrow, sunshine on the way, but it will be a bit hazy, 77 for the afternoon high. Talk about what else you may see in the air tomorrow. We'll look at rain chances. That's all coming up on the news.